must be praying for me. Somebody out there must be praying for me. Must be angels I can't see. Somebody must be praying for me. Yeah. Must be praying for me. Somebody out there must be praying for me. Must be angels I can't see. Somebody must be praying for me.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Holy Roar with Jeanette and Michelle. Our conclusion day. We're sad. Can you tell? We're sad, but we have enjoyed this with you. Well, it's not the last time you're going to see us, because knowing me, I'll be repeating all of these on the TV show. Anyway, so Michelle, welcome back. We took 2 weeks off for the Holy Week and Easter, and we wanted to go ahead and enjoy our time with our family. So we, I know when I need time with the family, because that was just something special. And I missed you too. So we were right here, and we took 2 weeks off. Now we're at the last conclusion, and then we'll be off for the summer, but we will be back in the fall, full blast.
She don't love me no more. She doesn't want to see me. She don't want to talk to me.
Don't believe her. That's not true. It's 100% lies. Anyway, so I'm going to let her start, because, she always does the beginning. And this is going to be a short, and then we're about to tell you some good news for the future. So
we haven't talked in like 2 weeks either.
No.
I've missed you.
Our relationship. I miss you too. So we need to at least talk once a week.
I know, because I was about to send you a text message going, I'm having Jeanette withdrawal.
Oh.
Okay.
So
the Bible verse that starts off, Psalm 119, 164 through 165.
Mm-hmm.
7 times a day I praise you for your righteous laws. Great peace have those who love your law, and nothing can make them stumble.
That's nice.
7 times a day. You know what?
A day. I lost count how many times I praise him.
So, for the reminder, because we did the 40-day prayer challenge before this,
mm-hmm.
And one of the readings in that book was the author, or there was someone that was talking about, I'm going to pray constantly throughout the day. Mm-hmm. So if I run across someone in the street, I'm going to pray for that person. And if I get frustrated, I'm going to pray over the frustration. If I am blessed, I'm going to. So if you take the prayer and take the blessing
mm-hmm.
and the praise that we're learning with Holy Roar, it's game changing.
Mm-hmm. Sure is. It sure is.
I have literally, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll be like, I'll say a quick prayer. It's like and then maybe an hour later, I'll be like, okay, prayer again.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And then I have to say, I know you listen to Christian radio. I listen to Christian radio. I listen to K-Love a lot on my smart device that's on my desk that I will not mention because she'll wake up. But I was I was grocery shopping yesterday. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to I'm going to download the app, and I've never downloaded their app before.
Oh, it's real good.
Here's the thing. If you, and I'm giving it a shout out to K-Love in the middle of this praise thing. They have different channels or different stations that you can choose.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that. And I was like bebopping yesterday to to like K-Love in the 90s and K-Love in the 2000s. I was like, okay. And in the early 2000s, there was a huge worship movement. So I was like bebopping through the grocery store yesterday, and I was like,
What?
oh yeah.
That's the way I know people look at us weird when we do that.
You know what? I have had some of the funniest conversations in the grocery store, but that is not about this show. So anyways, I'm here all week, folks. Okay. So what stood out to you in the chapter, not the questions in the chapter, because you always jump right to the questions. You're like, okay, boom.
Well, you know that I have the audio. So
Right.
it's not the book. But I have the workbook,
Right.
which is thing. And I can only tell you that the only thing that really stood out to me is the fact that when we praised, and I kept remembering the past, and I was looking at back all our notes, and I'm saying, there's a lot of praise and worship here, and the music and things like that. And I know why Chris Tomlin would write such a book like this, because it's very important. And I was hearing everything again, and then the words that we learned, like halal, and and all the words that we had learned, and I was like, man, this is so cool. So what has made me mainly what I've done now is true. I find myself, like, if I see a homeless person on the road, I start praying for them. I see an accident on the road, I'm like praying for whoever it is, that I hope that they come out okay. I find myself praising the Lord, even is like out of praise the Lord. Okay. And I do one of those. So it's like it's made me more conscious of praising the Lord in church. I have now given completely, fully, because when we tend to teach, we learn, right? So I know I'm one of those students that I teach it, I learn more, I think, than the student, because I'm listening and I'm teaching and I'm hearing myself. And then after even we do the recordings, I find myself going back to the channel and listening again what we spoke about. I'm like, yeah, I gotta do that. So this whole series, even the conclusions and the discussion, has taught me more to be very appreciative of the fact that I can praise the Lord, because it's free, right? Praising is free, and He loves praises. And why wouldn't He? He's our Alpha and the Omega. He's our Abba in the sky. So I find myself more in love with the praising and the worship now. Ever since we've done this study, I find myself now totally 100% involved because of our learning and teaching. I have committed to me 100%. That's what it is.
So it's interesting because I had read this a couple weeks ago, and I went back and I went over my highlights, because I love my highlighter and I love writing in my book. And we've had a lot of discussions, you and I, about comfortableness of different ways of praising and stuff like that, and music and the whole bit. I have to tell you I'll tell you a cool story in a minute, but one of the things that really spoke out to me was in the study, it says, perhaps you found yourself outside of your comfort zone on occasion. And you and I discussed that, what people are comfortable with and what people aren't. And it's also says, God knows where you are, even though He wants you to grow in your expression of praise to Him. But know this too, God wants your full, free expression of praise.
Right.
So I think when I read this book the first time, I'm also, you were talking about teaching. I was a youth group leader for 30 years. And you learn so much when you're teaching this to kids, teaching faith to kids, teaching how to pray, or teaching a prayer journey or a faith journey to youth, because they will call you on crap if you are unauthentic. Oh, will they call you on it in a very blatant way. So I agree that when you are leading or teaching, you do it delves deeper into you, and you connect with it more. So going through the summer, since we're taking a break, my whole thing is we need to still stay accountable to ourselves
Yeah.
in our faith walk and not fall off, because it's very easy to fall off.
Especially in
Like,
the summer, because
yeah,
everybody wants to be at the beach. They want to be at the pool, you know. And today in service, our pastor told us about how important it is to give one day to God on Sunday. But not only that, too, so you can come in as a committee, you know, you come in as a group, so you can fellowship with other people. Because he says the church is not the building, the church is you. You're
yeah,
the church, but you need that fellowship with other believers and things like that. So people tend to, in the summer, they tend to run away. It's like, oh, this is the summer. Then they come back in the fall and then they start all over again.
yeah,
And it's like, no, we have to be like every day, every day. My sister, she does her lives on see, she has second chances, right? And she's a breast cancer survivor. So when she died and she came back, she actually said that the Lord had told her, I'm giving you, and her series is called Second Chances. And she's going through something right now. And she, every time she's on TikTok, she's real high on TikTok. And she is talking and preaching to these women who have gone in her situation. And she gives that positive word and things like that. So that's what I'm trying to say. We shouldn't really stop, but we
no,
tend to. But see, when you're deep in faith like we are deep in the word. We know what we're supposed to do. It's not to say why can't you go to the beach on Saturday? That's the fun day anyway, you know. But that whole day, he says Sunday, and it says it in the Bible. And I'm gonna post it later. But he does give the verses where it says Sunday, the seventh day, is to give back to the Lord and to love him and praise him and things like that.
well,
And I'm
you and I had discussed that too, because like we are so busy, and then on Sundays we do this.
yep, yep,
And I've always held my Sundays to be until this, and I'm like, okay.
right.
So you and I both were like, maybe
We're gonna kind of change, and we're gonna do pre-recordings now. So Sundays we can go ahead and be with our family. So that's another change that's coming, which
Yeah.
was said. So it won't be on Sundays anymore, the live. So we'll pick a day and
figure it
we'll
out.
let you know. Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you. So this concert. Look at that. This chapter started off talking about a YouTube concert.
Uh-huh.
I can say that 5 times fast. Yeah. So I have mentored youth for years and years, and I'm not going to say too much identifying about this girl
Mhm.
because I don't I don't want any. She deserves to have anonymity.
Right.
Okay. There's someone that I have known since she was like 12 years old. She grew up in a very horrible circumstances. I'm just going to be honest, very horrible circumstances.
Mhm.
And she has really fought tooth and nail to turn her life around. She's had peaks and valleys, and she and I are still in touch. She is one of my kids. I use that term loosely, but I have a ton of kids
Okay.
I've adopted over the years. She is now living, and I won't identify the city, somewhere out in the US, and she is an EMT. Okay.
Okay.
She's doing EMT services for concerts now. And
Huh.
she had, yeah. So wait a second. She fell off the radar for about 2 years in my life. She needed to get some stuff settled and figured out, and she came back after about 2 years, and she posted pictures. When she got back in touch with me, she found faith. She started going to church. She
Okay.
found faith, and she was so excited because she got to be emergency services for the Mercy Me tour that
Mm.
is going around. And she took pictures from where she was, and she posted. She's like, it's so amazing to be in an environment like this where people are wanting to worship and listen to music that they should be. And she took pictures, and people were raising their hands, and I'm like, God is good, because God has changed her life. And if you are open to it, no matter how deep the valley, you can come out.
Yeah.
And come together in that praise. Now I loved when I lived in Florida. So I'm a little bit jealous of you, because in Florida, you're in the Bible Belt. It's up here. I'm in the woods. So there's
Well, maybe you need to preach to the tigers and bears. Oh my,
no tigers, an occasional mountain lion, but yeah. So but it's and it was wonderful being able to go to like concerts like Mercy Me, and I love Third Day, and all those concerts over the years. So I told my husband, I'm like, we're going to some Christian music festivals soon, because I need to.
Yeah, our topic on our church is revive. So he's always doing revival. I mean, we just don't have it one time a year. I think it's year round. He's doing this, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then Thursday nights we go to service. Our service nights are Thursday nights at 7, and he's doing the book chapter by chapter, verse by verse of Zechariah.
Ooh.
I was like, gee. I said, okay, that gave me the enthusiasm and the energy because I work the security part, so I'm always on the second floor looking at him, down with the lesson. But that gave me the idea to create. I don't know if you've seen it on the TV, Psalms 119. The longest one. I actually made a cartoon of it, and it's about 10 minutes long. And I did every verse by verse, chapter by chapter. God told me to do it. I said, okay, I do. When he tells me, I want you to make this into a cartoon, I want you to make this into a cartoon, I'm like, how am I going to do that? He goes, I'll help you. And man, and I'm like so happy. I put it on my Saturday morning cartoon so they can see. And then I'm like, man, that's so happy. But I listen,
Yeah. Okay, so going into the question section.
Okay, question. And we're gonna do in the verses? What happened?
We haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, you're doing it.
I'm going to the section. I said section. Today's quote, and we'll go back to this one. The question for it comes up is from Martin Luther King Jr. Okay. Worship at its best is a social experience with people of all levels of life coming together to realize their oneness and unity under God. Whenever the church, consciously or unconsciously, caters to one class, it loses the spiritual force of whosoever will, let him come doctrine, and it is in danger of becoming little more than a social club with a thin veneer of religiosity. Okay, can I just tell you, this is sort of timely. And I grew up Roman Catholic. I'm not a practicing Roman Catholic. I'm a practicing God follower. Yeah. You and I've had this discussion before. But the Pope just passed away the day after Easter, and his funeral was yesterday. And I woke up in the middle of the night and I started watching it. And I don't know if you caught any of the news or watched that at all, but it was amazing that they said over 250,000 people poured into Rome, okay, to honor this man who had no boundaries when it came to sharing God's love. He reached into the poorest of poor, and there were all these stories and all, coming out about him reaching out to the poorest of poor, or the marginalized, or the ones that he shouldn't be talking to. And when I looked at that, okay, and then you look at the life of Jesus again, he ate with sinners. He reached out to the people that, according to the good Jewish people, he shouldn't have been talking to. And then listening to this, it is very heartwarming to see that, because in some churches you walk in and you get the side eye, like, who are you? Or God forbid you sit in someone's seat, because it may not be engraved with their name, but that's where they sit, and gosh forbid they sit in someplace else. Yep. Or someone walks in and they're a stranger, and people look askance at them. I mean, there's a drug rehab center down the road from the church my husband goes to, and people have walked in from there before, and I'm the one who goes up and talk. My husband's like, you're gonna go up and talk to strangers again, aren't you? I'm like, yes, because you know me, I'd talk to a tree. He goes, yes you would. But we're called to do that. And seeing that yesterday.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought the funeral up, because my husband kind of sought me straight yesterday. I've been to Rome twice. And I've been there, and I really enjoyed, and I went through the Sistine Chapel and I saw the art. For me, it was the art, the beauty, and everything. But I've seen people starving in Rome, you know,
Mhm.
and they're sitting up there, with food and things, and I never saw no love. Okay. That's just what my eyes have seen, being to Rome twice.
Mhm.
And so I was really cold. And I go back to the Pharisees, because that area reminds me back
Mhm.
of the Pharisees. But yet, when I saw this yesterday, and I'm gonna be honest with you, and people might not like it, but I'm told, I'm not gonna hold my tongue, because you got to know where I'm coming from. Okay, so I was not caring about what was going on, and my husband said, "But you don't even know this man. You know what he did?" And I said, "What did he do?" I said, "Sit up in the throne and just," he goes, "No, he left to his account $100 because he gave his check to the poor." I said, "I stand corrected. I stand
Here's
corrected. Thank you for letting me know that, because that puts us in the category of me having this picture, but and then I can identify with the Pharisee that Jesus spoke to, that believed in him."
so here's the other interesting thing that
What was his
yeah.
name? Was it Ananias? Correct me. I don't the Pharisee that only believed that Jesus, that went to talk to him, and that he told them, "Hey, how can we be born again? Do I enter my mother's womb again?" Remember that talk in Gethsemane, in the when
Uh-huh.
when the Pharisee went, the only Pharisee that believed in him, the
Yeah.
one that got the tomb for him and everything else, that Pharisee, that incident yesterday reminded me of, okay, so they are good people
So
out there that may do. And my husband corrected me, and I said, "I'm sorry if I offended you." He goes, "No, you didn't, but you need to know, not all of them are like that."
yeah, so here's the other thing I will tell you that I learned yesterday. So there is a papal palace.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He first of all, he was Jesuit.
He's a what?
Okay. He was a Jesuit, which is a section of the Roman Catholic Church, which they take a vow of poverty. Okay,
Oh,
and
okay.
service.
Mm-hmm.
So he refused to live in the papal palace. He actually lived in what's basically considered the cardinal dormitory. So there's a cafeteria there. He would go and eat in the cafeteria with the janitors.
Oh,
And
I didn't know
he would go and eat with the worker bees.
that. Mm-hmm.
He would go in and he loved being around people. So
Mm.
that came out too. And, again, grew up that way, grew up Roman Catholic. And yes, there is
I mean,
honestly, I think if
oh,
you go to any denomination, that
yeah,
there are going to be issues.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
But I have a ton of respect for someone that can walk the walk and talk the talk in such a public role within their faith. Because if you're living your life out loud as a Christian,
Right.
God following
Yeah.
leader,
Mm-hmm.
again, it goes back to that authenticity. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times, you know, I was working with someone and I was talking, goes back years, and I was like, oh, such and such Christian singer is coming to town. I'm a huge fan. And one of the worker bees that I work next to just looked at me and she goes, I'm from Nashville, and the Nashville, Franklin, Tennessee area is huge in Christian music. It's like the hometown of Christian music. And she goes, be careful, because you put them up on pedestals and they don't necessarily deserve it. They're human too. And when I asked, she's like, there have been rumors around town for years about this person's conduct. And
Mm-hmm.
when I met that person, I was like, oh. Now, I grew up, my first job, was working in a performing arts center. So I got to see the YouTube concerts and stuff like that. And I can tell you, having met a ton of famous people over the years that people like emulate and put on pedestals.
Mm-hmm. And God says, "I'm a jealous God. Don't be praising anybody but me."
Yeah.
He says in the Bible, if he says it, it's the truth. So I do not praise any of, and I grew up Catholic too. Don't get me wrong. I grew up in St. Paul's Church, 116 and 3rd Avenue, New York City. Okay. I remember everything. And I was, I was a child, so I grew up, but
Yeah.
we don't know no better. We went to church Easter and Christmas. That's about it.
Oh,
It's nothing like now. And I was one of those people. My mother was one of those people. And I'm so
mhm.
happy that my mother my brother did it first. Then he brought my mother in and she converted over. So we all have I did say changed denominations, and we have gotten better for it because they don't, I mean, the story. I told you when I was 5 years old what they did to me,
Mhm.
because I called out a priest on the Ten Commandments, about the statues. And he told me, get out, don't talk to me that way. And I was sent to the principal's office. So that it
I
just goes
broke
to
my
show.
priest, so
So this is what I'm saying, that it's not everybody, but there's some out there. So, but I'm not into the kissing of the ring and all that. You won't. No, I won't bow down.
that's how I broke my priest.
Yeah.
So you and I had very different
Yeah.
experiences growing up in the Roman Catholic faith.
Yeah.
So I had the home church that I had to take CCD classes in and was very prim and proper, and then but every weekend my parents were up in the mountains and I went to a retreat house growing up.
Mhm, mhm,
And you've actually met Ann Dugan, who she and I grew up at that retreat house together. And that was a very warm, inclusive, supporting place it was Roman Catholic, and it was the Priory of Saint Benedict.
right.
And but no, it's very I am not anti-Roman Catholic. I am actually I think that there are some very good Roman Catholic churches out there. It's all depending on who is going in the leadership and how open they are, and the community that it is. But I broke the priest. That's what my mother told me, because I went in for confession, and I came out, and Father Bob, his name was Father Bob, he looked at my mom, he goes, she is never going to come to confession again, and I am okay with that. And my mom was the youngest of 8 Roman Catholic, Irish, French, looked at me and she goes, you broke the priest. So
Anyway,
okay, we just totally went off on a tangent with the Pope, and
I
but
did.
I think the reason being, and this is, this question always comes up, of that of the phrase or the quote, what speaks out to you the most. And between the Pope's funeral, and this is the other thing, you had heads of state from most of the world's countries, and if you noticed, Putin was sitting next to like a row back from Zelensky and Trump. They were all there. People that were sworn enemies were all sitting there worshiping. People were there from China. When they had the blessing of the people, they were saying it in multiple languages. So it was all these people coming together in unity. And the thing that spoke out to me in this was coming together to realize their oneness and unity under God. Because that's what this is. It wasn't just his funeral. We are all part of God's children. We are all part of God's family.
See, and what stood out to me on this was the section where it says, whenever the church consciously or unconsciously caters to one class, it
Yes.
loses the spiritual force of that. And what that came to me was segregation.
Yeah.
You have all of one class, all of one race, all of one, it's not unity. And it's true because, and especially now, the Holy Spirit showing me the 60s, the 50s, the how it was just all this race here, all this race here. And it doesn't really now. If you go to my church, you have everything.
Yeah.
You have even the ones that are the ill, that he says, come all as you are. And you will have those who are, trying to get fixed, the alcoholics, the drug addicts, the transvestites, the lesbians, and they all come. And when my pastor gets to talking to that topic, that you can see them get up and walk away, because he speaks the truth and they don't like it. But you know what? You're still welcome. You are very welcome, but I will speak the truth. He won't deviate from not speaking the truth. He even calls out on pastors that don't speak the truth to have a good, flowing, loving church. I'm like, no, you can have a loving church, but you got to tell them the truth.
I think, first of all, the truth. and the truth comes from the Bible. We can interpret it any way
Love.
we
And he
want.
says, do it with love. Do it with
Do it with love, because that's what we're called to do.
That's right.
But we are not called to segregate our churches from rich or poor or from nationality or ethnicity.
Exactly.
Or we are to be inclusive of all. Speak the truth is hard sometimes.
Yep.
You know, I don't always like it when my husband tells me I'm being a butthead, but you know what? That's truth, because I am at times.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that anyways, what were your going through the verses? I know you picked out some verses. What are your favorite verses?
My favorite verse was Psalms 133. How good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. It is like a precious oil poured on the head, running down on the beard, running down on Aaron's beard, down on the collar of his robe, as dew of Hermon were falling on Mount Zion, for there the Lord bestows his blessing, even life forevermore. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know how many times I've wished that I can experience something like that. Somebody just give me oil. It won't fall on my beard. I don't have a beard, but you know what I'm saying? Just the oil. And when they sanctify and they just, you know, and you just give it to God, and it is such peace. It's like I just want to fall there and stay on my face forever until I wake up. Just until I wake up, you know, because I don't know if you've ever, when you're doing the praise and worship, that's how far I've come since the beginning of this. I remember when I told you the first time, I was like, I'm so scared, this and that, you know,
that
and
went out the window.
I'm like, give me an opportunity. I will lay in the floor of the church. Okay. Don't get me started. Don't hit me with a good time, because I will stay there. You're going to have to walk all over me. And I have seen people do that. And the pastor will walk over the person. And, hey, they're doing their thing. I'm not going to bother them. And he will leave you up. But that's what we're supposed to do. When you give it to all and you show people you're giving it to all, they're like, well, she's not afraid and they're giving it to all. Why shouldn't we? You know, and then you have your son that go, oh, they're just showboating. I'm like, really? I'm like, no, honey, I'm not even paying attention to you right now. I am in another universe, you know, because I am
closed off to outside.
I am.
You're just
yes. And I have seen a lot of people, they just go down there and I'm thinking, did they fall asleep? Because they're there for a while. And then I realized what that was. And it was just, you're giving your all, you're lifting your whole, I feel like if your spirit just left and just went to meet with God, and then, okay, I'm coming back down again. That's how I felt. You know, when you're in that praise and worship, you just give everything. You're like,
you in the zone.
Yes.
Everything else falls away. You in the zone. Okay. Mine was Philippians 2:2.
Okay.
Then make my joy complete by being like-minded, having the same love, being one in spirit and one in mind. I love coming together and just praising.
Yes.
So, okay. How important do you think unity is within the church community? That's the first question.
It has to be very important. Unity. Well, it's funny that you would say that, because I'm in a leadership class. Okay. And in our leadership class, we're reading about being the armor bearer of God, you know? And unity is one of those things that churches are having fun, because you don't have your armor bearers saying, like, let's say somebody was to come up to you and start talking bad about it. I go, we don't accept that poison in here. This church is a lovely church. We will not have that kind of talk in here. And that right there stops that, because we're learning about not having no one bad talk. You're not going to divide this church up. We're going to stand with the pastor. He is following the word of the law and of God, and he is a God-given anointed man. You will follow and respect him. If you don't, well, there's the door. Period. But that's how we fight. And this man, my pastor, has been in this church for 50 years. He started it from a closet, okay? And it has gone into 3 services. And he does not take everything on himself. He got teams. And every team and every person in that church of the leadership have gone through this class called the armor bearer. And let me tell you, it is so good. I'm in the leadership. The leadership class is 1 year.
Wow.
Okay? And it is deep. I'm already like 6 months into it. So it's like, I'm very happy and I'm learning so much. And I'm like if you was in the church, like in the position that you were, people had to respect you, and they had to do that because you're a leader. And if they never read the armor bearer, they will know that they were right now. And he gave us examples of people that went against a pastor and what happened to them. I thought I was gonna die. I said, ooh, you cannot go against God's anointed. You cannot. You
Mm-mm.
cannot. And I'm learning so much. My eyes are like, oh my gosh. So now when I do security and I see something off, I just go up to that person. Can I pray for you? Because we're not gonna have that kind of talk up in here. Okay,
Mhm.
okay? Or when things happen, and it goes, you follow your chain of command. He says it's like the military, you follow your chain of command. Okay. And I'm like, man, I can relate to that. I'm like, yeah, I can
Oh,
relate to
you military woman? I think
yeah.
I think unity is extremely important.
Mhm.
I think that people need to be reminded what unity means.
Mhm.
Unity does not mean singling out people because they are different.
Nope.
Unity means bringing them into the fold and loving on them.
Yeah.
So I find that churches that do that, that have that open arms, that, reach out to the one that may not speak up or may dart in and dart out because they're not comfortable, they don't know, or what, the people that reach out to
Mhm.
those churches you usually find are the ones that are growing and have a community
Mhm.
and are loving and supportive and are rock solid.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, okay, music style is sometimes a divisive factor in churches. Oh, how could you use it to produce unity? Okay, I got to tell you. So
Oh.
I've been a church leader in many churches over the years.
Oh my gosh.
And there was a church that I was actually the church council chair for, and there were 2 services, and there was an organist. Okay, and he wasn't even of the denomination that church was, but he was an organist, and he came in, and he would not play anything except hymns at all, ever.
Uh,
So, you're going into a church today. Now, hymns are great. I did not grow up with hymns. I only know 4 or 5 hymns, honestly. Couldn't sing more than that for the life, if my life depended on it. I grew up with contemporary worship. Okay. This church, there was a huge population of the church that wanted contemporary worship. And there was so much divisiveness because we had a group of people that they played guitar and drums and keyboards, and they were like, we'll do a service. But that was like the biggest headache at church council chair meetings. I was like, y'all are killing me. Can we have a traditional service and maybe a contemporary one? Nope, nope, nope. I'm like, oh my goodness. Because the 10 o'clock people didn't want to have to go to the 8 o'clock. That would have been the traditional, and the contemporary would have been the 10, because the youth would be more likely to feel comfortable with that, and trying to get kids up early on a Sunday morning might not. Oh my goodness. The pastor's name, I won't mention the pastor's name, but he and I would just look at each other at the council chair meetings where I'm like, can I just
I know that in our church, it is driven by the Holy Spirit. They sing the same song, but like last Thursday we had service and my favorite song came on. It reminds me a little bit of the hippies in the 60s dancing. Well, they played that twice because in the beginning when they played it, there was people actually dancing they were like just doing and going off. And then he loved it so much because his people were just, I've never seen a service like, it was amazing to see. And now I'm on top looking at everybody down, security. And they played it again at the end, the last song, and he goes, "Isn't that wonderful?" My pastor was still jamming, and he was like, "All right, let's start this word," but he was like still jamming because it brought people. And he does. It says the Holy Spirit likes that record. Well, hey, we're gonna play it again, and he just plays, and they are really. We have like My pastor says if anybody who wants to be on here, they can come on here and they play their little heart out. It don't matter what it sounds like. I mean, and everybody has their say, and everybody has that respect. And there's the worship leader, of course. Oh yeah. Oh Lord.
So she just realized what time it was because I've tried to reel you in a couple times. Like,
yeah. So yeah,
just
I know.
Froggy. So why don't we discuss? Because we wanted to discuss some of the blessings that are going on with their businesses.
Yes, and that's why we only cut to one question, and I should have took the hint. She's showing me the frog, and I'm like here talking. Well, I get passionate about talking about my solos. Okay, let's go to commercials. We'll be right back.
Creations of the heart, art that connects us. Discover more. Visit creationsoftheheartart.com.
Okay, first of all, let me just say your reaction because nobody saw it but me. But that was funny. We got a calm music of a vendor, and all of a sudden we get to your video and you're like...
Well, okay. Well, how'd I start off, though? I started this off with going, I have a migraine. So, for
what
me,
is your commercial?
I know. for me to even be talking this, yeah, it's my
Yeah.
husband will tell you, like, I'm normally in tears at this point.
It was
So
funny to see, though. It was funny to see. I'm like, she's doing that on her commercial.
yeah,
And then it go back to soft. But you want I catch you. So
noise and my migraines at the point where noise and light hurt. So
yeah. Okay. So
anyways, talking about business and great things that have happened since we started this year, because that's when the 40-year prayer challenge happened.
it actually happens. And one thing I loved is that 40-day challenge was a challenge, but we were able to finish it together. And I saw the difference immediately. I mean, that's when we had a total breakdown on the channel, on the original platform, and God blessed us with this bigger platform. And this
So, and it's and your numbers are growing and you're all over the place now. So
we're even on phone apps. We're on phone apps, man.
The same time that you had that storm, I had a storm with my former business compadre. And I closed my original company and I'm relaunching it as Spark Up Biz Services, which is my personal company. And we are in the process of something really huge, which will help promote both my business services company, because I've pivoted because of the opportunities that have come out in the past 6 to 9 months with me, and hopefully grow Spark Up Biz as well. So so now from just having a payment processing company, which is what I had, where I was restricted to only work in one type of market. Now I own a business services company, SparkUpBizServices.com. And we're now able to do payment processing for almost any type of business. And we're offering Matt, who is my business partner with Spark Up Biz. He's another business too, because we have to wear 20 million hats. His CRM is launching. And you and Jenny were part of the beta.
Yeah.
I am running my company on it. It is a phenomenal CRM with absolutely sick features at a phenomenal rate for small businesses. And then we're actually, so he's launching that. So I'm doing payment processing. I'm promoting his CRM. I'm becoming a certified Hive reseller. So I can help people make productivity boards and build them out for companies. We're doing short-term business financing and consumer financing, and we're just growing more and more services to help businesses grow. So we've had a lot of things. And one of the really awesome things is that through a partnership with someone that I've known for many, many years, we're going to be promoting all of these businesses to a gateway. So and which gateway's customer. So in the world of payment processing, if you need to connect your payment processor to anything, you need a gateway, and we're partnering with a gateway. So we're very excited, and more will be coming about that. But we're right at the cusp, both Creative Spirit Channel and us. We're right at the cusp of going over the top of the roller coaster and about to go down a really awesome adventurous ride in positive ways. So I'm very excited.
And with us, I'll name our affiliates and team, because our team is very important. But we got Jeffrey Beaver, who is the maker of the Whimsy Wood cartoons, and he makes these fabulous pins.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's amazing. And he's also been, and he grew also. So, I mean, that's amazing. Then we got Brenda from Miss Craft Princess, and she makes these beautiful phenomenon cards, And then our affiliate Subsidy, which is an e-marketplace. And what I love about him is it's free to join. And you pay him when he has a marketing team that does your sales. So let's say I sell a clock, they get 10% of it. And that's the only payment we need to give them. So that's amazing. And then, of course, my co-host also with Jenny Dial, right? We have so many hats. So she has Eve Nest, and it's a platform for women crafters and things like that. that create their own. So she has that company. And then she also has Busy Bookstores where she is an author of herself. And also I'm an author now, and Jeffrey's gonna become an author. She inspires everybody to go in and write and everything. And so she had Busy Bookstores. Y'all gotta look that up. It's busybookstores.com. And then we have Tony, which is Music Legacy. So that is another affiliate because we see art is music too. So we gotta have that music and then start praising the Lord too. And I found our last week guest was Born Again, Mr. Smith. He's one of these singers, and he was singing his song, and he's on with us on the channel as well. So it's a lot of new people coming in, like Judy McCarty, and she has also she makes these beautiful books, and she has an inspiration. And then we have Tailspin, which you just saw, the little animals. That this is another lady, Spencer Wagner. So we are growing, and as we grow, and of course, I don't mention myself. I leave mine for last because it's Creations of the Heart art, where I make these clocks, custom made that I have on order now. But
what's your latest creation? Because I'm going to ask you that.
Well, my latest creation in the making right now is the Cookie Monster clock.
What?
Somebody ordered it, so so I'm like, yeah, I'm doing that one. That's my latest, and it's only custom made by what people order, and that's why I love it. And I've done strictly that.
Well, I have to ask you that question once in a while because that's how you remember me.
That's how I do remember. Every time I went to her event, she goes, "What is your latest?" And I would show it. And she was like, "Wow," it was like always something.
So as a reminder, you and I met through a networking group that I started called Boss Babes Networking with Boss Babes with an S. networking.com. You can go to so we have networking twice a week and it's free. Boss Babes with an S networking.com. There's another one out there too, but you started coming and we missed you when you left. We're like, where'd Jeanette go? Because
we were just starting this
I know
thing, and I had no idea how people, if you think that God doesn't work in our life, when you give your life totally to him, you're greatly mistaken. Jenny and I started on YouTube with 2 people, her and me. Okay. And Michelle, you did join. That was number 3. So that's what I'm saying. And we went quickly to we're hitting 3,000 now, I think. But our channel went to 7,000. Now we had no idea. If you was to tell me you're going to be on TV doing this, I'd be like, no, I'm just trying to sell my clocks. I'm not worried about that. And I was always at vending events. Who knew? All of a sudden, Jenny has a fantastic idea and she gets solicited to be on TV. And she goes, "We're going on TV." I'm like, "What?" "On Roku." I said, "Really?" So what? So all of a sudden this grew and we had no idea what we were doing. And then Michelle and I both had issues with people that we had to, say goodbye to. Like God fixed it. He closed. I'm gonna say it the biblical way. He closed the doors that needed to be closed and opened the doors that needed to be opened. And that is what happened. So we have the TV show, which is available for every business now. And ads. You can have an ad with us. Right now, we're running a special. The first 20 people, I can't say 25 anymore because it's already gone. But the first 20 people to join us is only $25 a month for 6 months. It's like $25 a month for 6 months. Then it goes up to $50. That is affordable. We didn't want to be greedy. We're not going to say $10,000 for half of 45 seconds. No, we don't do that. You get a whole minute. I mean, commercials, you get a minute. You can submit as many commercials as you want. And we get to show it on here. We get to, or if you're daring and you want to have a 15, 30 or an hour show, you get to pick now 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or a whole hour of your own show doing your own pride. All you got to do is send us an email at the Creative Spirit channel at gmail.com and you will be there. And then you'll be talking to somebody called Evelyn Arthur, who is our direct marketing, which we just hired. We just hired another person to do direct marketing. So you'll be able to talk to her. I mean, I don't even know where it's going, and I still say God is growing it. But right now, this summer, because we have all worked so hard, to help people, we are definitely taking a break, So, yeah.
You have to, so you can come back more refreshed. The 7-day thing.
Yeah, refreshed. recharged, and with brand new ideas. So I am so happy that I get this opportunity to be with Michelle, and I know she's showing me the frog. Darn it, that frog. And we're gonna go ahead and say bye. And don't you go nowhere. We still gotta talk after the show. I love her to pieces. I miss her when I don't talk to her, you know.
You're
But
betrothed. We're soul sisters. You may be 13 states away, but you're stuck with me.
yeah, I have no choice, but I love it. I have no regrets ever. Okay, so we're gonna say goodbye, and not really goodbye. We'll say see you
See
next.
you later. Hasta luego.
See you later. Okay, we're gonna hit commercials, and then I'll talk to you in the backstage. Bye.
must be praying for me. Somebody out there must be praying for me. Must be angels I can't see. Somebody must be praying for me. Yeah. must be praying for me. Somebody out there must be praying for me. Must be angels I can't see. Somebody must be praying for me.